All right. We are back here, guys. Thank you all for joining today. We are going to be talking about some post-listing execution, RWA structure, and what's happening in the participant economy with PUNKVISM today. Thank you all for joining in. I hope you enjoyed the last AMA, and we are ready to start another one. And very happy to have you all join us. So please, everybody, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Today is not about short-term price movement. It's about whether punkwism can grow and remain relevant 3 years from now. Many projects reach their peak at listing. We want to talk about what comes after the listing. Right. This AMA is held to celebrate punkwism's Qcoin listing. Uh, Before we begin, I wanna tell you, right, like this is informational purposes only. There does not constitute investment advice. We're not discussing principal protection, guaranteed returns, or loss compensation. It's more about just to share what's happening with Punk Wisdom, what the plan is, and where we're going to be in the future. Now, please welcome JM Punk Wisdom. Jane, are you there?
Oh, yes, I'm here. Hi, guys. This is Jane, and thank you, Even, and thank you for everyone for being here with us today. And I'm Jane, and the manager at PUNKVISM. I'm really happy for this chance to speak with you guys today. So I'm going to share more about the PUNKVISM, about PVT, and to help you understand better what we are building today, and especially about KuCoin listing. For us, this listing is not the finishing line, it's a starting line where our real work begins and where real users test our system. So we hope today's conversation will give you a clear picture of our vision, our structure, and our direction.
That's amazing. Congrats on KuCoin. And that's very impressive. KuCoin is one of the top exchanges out there. I'm a user myself for many years. They do a great job. And, it's great that Punk Wisdom is on KuCoin. That's a massive sign of credibility. It means we're doing amazing stuff and very excited for this. So, congrats on the listing. But many projects did get listed. What makes Punk Wisdom's listing different?
Okay, thanks for congrats for us to be listing in a KuCoin. Well, to be honest, it's not just about being listed, and it's about what comes after. So we are not focusing on short-term attention, but building something people can usually, actually use it and keep coming back to it, to get back to us. So this listing is very important, but it's really just the beginning of improving our system in real life.
Nice. That's amazing. That's amazing.
Mhm.
Right after the listing, what matters more than the chart? Like, let's be honest. After last listing, many people just focus on the chart. What
Mhm.
do you think matters most at this stage?
Well, just like I said that in the introduction, so we are not focusing on a short-term price movement in Web3. Words are easy. Anyone can make promises, but usage is proof. So what really matter is whether people actually use the system again and again, especially with PVT at the center. So for us, the post-listing period is not a celebration. Actually, it's a test for us. And it's the moment where real behavior shows the truth. Do people comes in and do people, take action? Do they really stay with us? That's when you know if a project is real.
That's amazing. Yeah, in Web3, words are easy and
Mm-hmm.
usage is really the proof.
You're right.
Uh, exchange listing is basically people look at it as like a guarantee. Some people see
Mhm.
exchange like certification. Is that how you see it? What is your internal view on with the listing that happened now with KuCoin?
Well, not really. The listing gives us like a visibility, but it doesn't, mean that guarantees success. What really matter is what happens after that. So do users, comes in and try the system and take actions and choose to come back. If that loops works, the project works.
You know, so tell me more about like the marketing and like where you guys see PVT going and like where does PVT stand in the current market? How does
Yeah.
PVT position itself?
All right. When the people usually very nervous and then cautious when the market feels really unstable, but they start looking for something, simple, and they look for system that actually works. So, PVT is not designed for passive holding, like just holding it and waiting. It's designed for participation. So, what matters most is the whether user have the reason to stay.
That's amazing. And instead of like not price prediction, what should people look at, right? Like people like, will it
Mhm.
go up? Let's talk like measurable indicators. What indicators should people follow?
Well, so for us, actually, we usually just look for like a four symbol signals. I can say, first, the new users finding us, right? Or second, they can join, and do they feel when they join it, do they feel comfortable starting to participate with us? And probably third, do they choose to come back over time? And lastly, maybe do rewards connect to real usage in ecosystem? So when these fours are working well, the question is no longer, is this possible? It becomes, how far can this project grow?
Nice. Amazing. I mean, I'm very bullish on looking at these indicators.
Mhm.
Like they check all the
Right.
boxes for me. So that really makes me bullish about punkwism and PBT. And I think over the long term, the market is bad generally. It's not just people,
Mhm.
everything is crashing, right? Then
You're
about
right.
Bitcoin, Ethereum is doing so bad. So I'm bullish. When the market turns over, I think PBT is going to be one of the outliers and it's going to perform great.
Oh,
So
thanks.
let's talk about the like RWA, like why RWA, right? And this is a question many
Mhm.
people in the community are curious about, like why RWA and why you
Mhm.
describe it as NFT 2.0.
You're right. Yeah, this is very important. If you just look back, 2021, it was a very exciting time for all of us, right? And people were talking about metaverse and the Web3 and the idea of the internet. Especially project like a board ape, the Yacht Club and Doodles were really popular and were growing quickly. And then we were right in the middle of that moment. At that time, we felt that Korea should not just watch from the outside. We have something special, our culture, our creativity, and the Korean wave, especially Korean wave, is popular. That belief brought our team together, especially the led by our CEO Hyungi Hwang. It becomes a founder of Metacoins, which many people in Korea come to notice Metacoins and then came to recognize. So we were fortunate to work with the great partners back then, including department store like a Shinsegae and then Marble, a big market store like a GS25, Hyundai Motors, and like a music creator like a Sunmi and Seven and Lover. Actually, together we complete more than 15 major projects. So we weren't just watching the market from outside. We were actually living inside it every day, and because of that experience in 2021, we started to asking ourselves a different questions. Can this excitement turn into something that truly lasts in the real world? Or can NFT and tokens connect to real world, real value, real businesses, real revenues? So we thought about it for a long, long time. And finally we found the answer. That was real world asset. So we talk about, when we talk about RWA, we don't mean just the one product. For PUNKVISM, it means creating real connection between digital asset and real world activity. Not through the promises, but through the structure. So we didn't choose RWA because it was popular, but we choose it because we believe it's the most responsible path forward. So it's how we want to build something that can grow together with our community for a long time.
No, that's amazing, and that that's I really like that.
Mhm.
So why do post listing projects what do pre-listing, right? Many projects
Mhm.
use mini games before listing to attract users.
You're
Why
right.
did you choose to do it after the listing?
It's because we want active users, not really people who are just waiting. No, before listing, many users join only to claim rewards and leave. But after listing is a different story, right? So the ecosystem is really live. Our ecosystem is already live, and the token is already in the market. So when user join, they can start participating right away. So this is our goal, is to show the participation leads the real value.
Nice. That's amazing. And that's actually
Mhm.
very true. So,
Right.
to be a outlier success, you got to do outlier things. You can't do what the market does. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Hmm.
Uh, so what happens when the user joins? And like, what's the process after that?
Well, this is really simple, the users can join and they can try, something, and they earn and they use what they earn and they come back. So we focusing on the marketing this process very easy. It's not complicated setup, or it's not heavy learning that you have to learn from the beginning. Basically just join and start doing something.
Nice. And how is this different from T to E? Why P to E? There are many tap to earn games.
You're right.
What makes PUNKVISM different? What makes your play to earn different?
Well, this is quite important because the many games focus only on tapping. That's why tap to earn games. You can see it from the name. But when the events end, the users just disappears. But we don't want that kind of system. So for us, P2E means not play to earn, but we can say participation to earn. So we building a participation economy. The rewards are not really for holding; they are linked to real activity and verified results. So in the first phase, our goal is not complex gameplay. It's simple, and it's about the building healthy habits. We create the simple missions and events so user can naturally take an action easily, and the action is verified and then connected to the PVT point. So mini game, we can say the mini game is not just the marketing for us. So it's about more like an engine that show people are really participating.
Nice. That's amazing. And I agree with
Mm.
you. Like, I agree with you.
Mm.
That's how it should be.
Will you
So,
will you play?
yeah, 100%. I look forward to playing for sure. I mean, I
Oh
already
yeah.
used it before. So, yeah.
Stay tuned then.
So, okay, tell me more about, can users convert PVT into USDT, right? Many people are asking about conversion to stable
You're right.
coins. How do you
Well,
approach this? Can users convert?
oh well, we have to approach it very carefully because it's quite the issue, and we do kind of review possible options, including stablecoin like a USDT, but the availability depends on the regulation and the compliance requirements, and also the operational conditions. So we don't make fixed promises, but we understand that the liquidity is important, but we cannot really make fixed promises. That's natural way. But our main goal is not quick cash out. It's giving users a real choice to hold or to use and to participating. So that's how we're building long-term engagement.
Okay, that's amazing. And I agree with you, right? It's about
Mhm.
having long term engagement, the users who are here for the long play and the long game. So, that's definitely very good. Let's talk more about the RWA NFT structure. Why build such a complex RWA structure? Let me ask this: like, why did you design it in such a detailed way?
Yeah, wow, that's a fair question. Well, let me put it in the simple way. We don't ask people to trust individuals, so we try to build the trust into the system itself. So most users have the same concern, just like you and me. Where does the money goes, and who controls it? So we separate responsibility as much as possible. So operations focusing on execution, and custody partner handle the settlement, and real world partners managing on the ground activities. So we don't keep any shared funds in one person's private account. We use secure custody, transparent records, and clear rules. So it's similar to like how professional organization works. That's our mindset.
That's amazing, and that's a mindset I can really link with. Right? I appreciate
Mhm.
that, and I think everybody listening here should also know that, like, it's important to have transparent record, clear
Yeah.
rules, and PVTs. Punkwism is doing a great job at it. That's amazing, guys.
Mhm.
So define, like, how would you define your RWA NFT? Can you define RWA NFT in one sentence?
Yeah, well, I can say that it's not designed as an automatic, yield product. It's a participation-based membership that we can offer access and meaningful opportunity. So when rewards are connected to the real, the verified activity, not rather than simple holding, so people understand the system more clearly and trust grow naturally.
So can you explain like the process in simple steps?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, no. Let me explain, this way, like a five main steps. The first, when someone mints an NFT, the funds are not immediately controlled by any single party. That's the first. And the second, designated custody partners will handle the settlement basis basis on the clear guidelines. After that, our real world partner carry out their roles according to the contract terms. And fourth, the payments such as service fee follow transparent and a predefined route. So and finally, basis on the verified user's activity, the platform calculate and distribute the rewards. So one important things that we always keep in mind is this. If rewards are automatic and just for holding, it can easily leads to the misunderstanding. So we stay consistent in our approach. Rewards are always connected to the real participation.
Understood. And that's
Mhm.
that doesn't sound that complicated. So I think that's pretty straightforward for anybody to go and try it at least once, guys. So what about misuse or misappropriation, right? Like people don't trust anything that claims zero risk. How do you reduce risk?
Well, we agree. You cannot say there is no such a things like zero risk. There's always risk on this. All the projects, but our approach is a structure. So we clearly define where funds move. So who has authority and under what condition payments happen. So we all document this everything and design system that can be reviewed. That's how we can reduce our risk.
So RWA involves offline data, right? What if that data is manipulated?
Well, but that's why verification is really matter to us.
Us,
We don't believe in hiding things, but we also don't believe in unnecessary exposure. So what matter is that the data can be checked and trusted. That's what gives people confidence.
Okay, that's so. This is the most sensitive question that many people are thinking about. Like,
Mhm.
is this considered a security?
Well, we've been taking this question, very seriously from the beginning, from the beginning of the projects. But from an early stages, we already consulted with the leading law firm in Korea, and we received professional legal opinions. What they say based on our current structure, the risk of being classified as a security is kind of not likely assessed, and then it was
Was
assessed
a
relatively low. So at the time, we understand that the regulation can differ by the country and also may change over the time.
fact.
So we always take careful and conjure, we always, take, we always take care and we always have to be careful. So we design first for the compliance and then go growth. So our NFTs are not, creative to offer automatic financial return. Actually, they are designed for participation, like a community engagement and a membership access. It's not about holding and earning passively. So rewards are not connected only to verified activity and real contribution. And we make sure, to communicate this very clearly and consistently.
Okay, that's amazing. Change and talk a little bit about Arena
Mhm.
and the use cases of PVT in the punkism ecosystem, right? And you say Arena isn't just a game; it's an
Mhm.
engine.
Mhm.
Why?
No, well, because arena brings everybody, everything's together. It helps, the people enjoy, not only enjoy, and they can participate. and naturally become part of our ecosystem, and that's PVT support these all kind of journey.
Okay, that's amazing. And so people enjoy details, but too many details can be risky. Do you agree?
Oh wow, yeah, well, I do, but details are very important, but how we communicate with them is it's a matter just as much, if something sounds like a principal protection or guaranteed returns or automatic profit, it can easily be, be misunderstood. So whenever we share all the details, we always connect them to real participation and a real activity. So when, and we adjust our approach very carefully based on regulations and also compliance.
Okay, that's amazing. So that tells you guys, like, there's some good utility there with PVT, and it's still a good time to get in. And I think that PVT is going to do very well long term.
Thank
So
you.
let's talk about the next milestones. What's in the future? How do you approach the market quality after listing? Like liquidity and market structure become very important after listing. Like, what's
Mhm.
your plan? How do you approach this?
Yeah, for us, liquidity partnership it's not about just guaranteeing the prices. They are about improving the trading efficiency and supporting markets, stability and building a healthy trading environment. So we're always focusing on, responsible management and also long-term stability and rather than, short-term headlines.
That's amazing, and that's what it should be. If
Yeah.
you guys want to win, you got to take a long term plan here, guys. This is applies with every business across every industry. Long
Mhm.
term is how you win, and short term is how you lose. So that's good that punk wisdom is the right way. So tell after today's AMA, what is your one line goal for the next 60 days?
Okay, our goal is very simple. So we want to make sure that our user engine truly works and that our full project, the product is ready. And we wanted to show this with the real result and the real data. We're not gonna just say the words.
And that's amazing. So I agree with that, and I think you guys are really doing that too. Before we wrap up, one final question, like
Mhm.
in your words, what was today's AMA really about?
Well, the today's it was just about building a sustainable loops and where user can join, take actions, and continue participating. And more importantly, about doing this in a transparently and the responsibly way. So our community can grow with confidence.
That's amazing, and I think that's how it should be, and I think the punk wisdom community is doing really great.
Mhm.
So thank you everybody who joined us today. We are grateful to have you with us and to share this important moment together. As punk wisdom PBT begins this new chapter with the Q coin listing, we'll be sharing the next steps and upcoming updates. And end of the day, if anybody who hasn't joined Punk Wisdom, hasn't joined PVT, you can go follow now, go follow Twitter, go join the Telegram community. Get some PVT. It may do well for you. So it's not financial advice, but I have a bag, so I would highly recommend you guys get some. JM, do you have any final thought before we end the session?
Oh, yeah, yeah. I mean, thanks again, for being with us today, everybody. And I'm really appreciate even and your continuous support for PVT and Punkvism. So today's are just sharing about our directions and visions, but now it's time for us to take an action. As we move into this next stage of our journey, we invite you to stay with us, and then of course join the Punkvism community and share your voice and grow with us. And then we hope we will continue to watch Punkvism close as you move, forward together. But before, we actually close this AMA sessions, I really wants to say special thanks to our team and also our community. They've been giving everything to get to us, get us here. Their time, their energies, and their belief in the Punkvism. So I think we're looking forward to building the future with all of you listeners and holders and your communities and our communities. And the finally I would say we hope that everybody has a wonderful rest of the day. Thank you.
That's amazing. Thank you, JM. Thank you everybody for
Thank
your time.
you.
Really appreciate everybody coming in and, had a great day today. Wish you all the best and thank you, everybody.
Thank you, guys. See you next time.